Dante Liberato, welcome to the Uncivilized podcast. I have to tell you, your story, I don't know if it popped up on TikTok or on Instagram, but I think I read, and for you listeners, this is why this man is in front of me. I'm going to run 500 miles on psychedelics. And I was like, okay, I'm going to just play a wild card here and see if this dude will talk to me. So, welcome. Please share with the audience a little bit about you other than that, and then we'll dive into that if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I really appreciate you having me on, and letting there be another opportunity to share the story a little bit. Yeah, it's been quick, the amount of traction and everything that story and that this project has gained, but I wouldn't really classify myself as much of a runner. I probably fall more in this hybrid athlete category. Really long martial arts background, been doing that since I was like 6 or 7 years old.
Amazing.
Fought professionally for a little while. Injuries led me towards just running and wanting to, needed somewhere to put that energy. So that's how I found the trails and the running community. Just the last couple of years, I've been working at a little gym here in town that I run with my partner, Ren. And then also there's a retreat center on the south slope of Pikes Peak, Bodie Springs, that I do some men's work at. And we're starting to do mixed retreats as well. And and I guess that's been a huge part of my life as well.
And tell me what that is.
It's a version or a modality of psychotherapy. The idea is that it's really just a version of assisted self-study. So helping people understand themselves a little bit better, really trusting the person sitting in front of you, the client, to have all the skills, resources that they need to heal and move forward. So you don't diagnose anybody, you don't prescribe medications or anything like that. It's really just a way to help people understand themselves and their process a little deeper.
Beautiful. Okay. Talk me through the genesis of this idea. Are you running 500 miles on psychedelics?
Mm-hmm. That is a plan.
That is the plan. And it's at some unknown time for secrecy and double secret probation purposes. That's correct?
Yeah, we are trying to be, I think our biggest thing, and this is what I talked with the director about this last weekend, biggest thing is that we just don't want to be made an example out of. And we know that we're not going to be just this group of guys getting high and like running across the state of Colorado. There's a lot of scientists that we've interviewed. There's a lot of people that I think are on the right side of the psychedelic space that are going to be a part of this project. And for us, it's really just wanting to trying to keep things secret so that, when we do start the project, we don't draw any extra attention. So where it would be really exciting to have like these massive banner on the van, like a lot of these other guys do, and have group runs planned throughout the state, throughout the project. We're just going to really kind of try to run at nighttime a lot and get it done in the dark, and then when it's all over, there'll be this awesome documentary for people to.
Okay. And when you say have an example made of you, is this like be arrested or be stopped?
Yeah. I think being stopped. There's guys that were just filming out in Yellowstone a couple weeks ago, and they just didn't have some permits that they needed to post whatever video it was that they did, and they're being made an example out of for posting those videos. And I think that this is really different. I think that there's going to be attorneys that watch the film before we ever release it, and we're really making sure that we got cats ready to get outside. We're really making sure that we're covering our bases, and just being advocates for harm reduction, being advocates for the proper use of it.
Okay. Again, tell me, were you just sitting around having a bowl of cereal? Were you out running and thought this would be a really cool idea? Like, where did this idea come from, and what is the ultimate goal with it?
Yeah. Last year, a buddy of mine, Jordan Babs, we had signed up for our first 100-mile race, and while we were doing that, we just had the perfect cocktail of community, crew support, nutrition, and then when we started to get tired, a crew member of mine had some psychedelics on him, had some LSD, and he offered it to me. At first, I was super resistant. He was telling me that it would help with my stomach, it would help with the energy going into the, because it was a 24-hour plus event. So I took a little bit, and then I just felt better and better as the night went on. I felt like we got faster and faster. We got, hey, come here, buddy. We got
for like live organic, like people listening. Yeah, this is real life. Yeah.
Kitty cats. Yeah, they've been craving that sunshine since it's been poking out the last couple of days. But yeah, I felt like having the right kind of preparation, having everything that I needed, and then kind of surprisingly taking these psychedelics or unexpectedly, and then having this shift in the way that I felt was really, really profound for me. I felt like this super deep connection to the trail, to running. I felt like I was just where I needed to be. And I knew that I had a lot of time left in the race and was just glad that I had something that was there that I knew was going to help me stay awake. And as we're moving down the trail and I'm just enjoying myself, ready to take a little bit more as I can feel it wearing off, the little dropper that I was using broke. And I had to dose it out through just kind of sipping the bottle that it was in. So I didn't really know exactly how much I was getting. Yeah, long story short, I ended up tripping, kicking a rock as I was drinking it. I got the whole bottle in my mouth, which was like a couple tabs of LSD. And I thought that I was about to just kind of start losing it. I thought everything was about to start melting. And the feeling of bliss and speed and power and everything just got enhanced like tenfold.
No kidding.
Yeah, I realized I had signed up for this race with the intention of experiencing this pain cave and some darkness that a lot of these ultra runners talk about. And I really think because of the psychedelics, I didn't get anywhere close to that day. So I was like, if I want to experience this really hard thing, this really difficult moment, I'm gonna need something a lot further than 100 miles. So in the last 5 miles of that race, I was finishing it with my uncle. He was pacing me in the last little bit, and yeah, just kind of, I've always had this idea of backpacking to Utah. And then in that moment, I was just like, I know exactly where I want to go. I know most of the route, and I didn't know that it was going to be 500 miles at the time. I just knew it's going to be a lot further than the 100. Yeah, kind of kept it to myself for a couple weeks. It was a big process, like a lot of sacrifice on the relationship and the business, getting ready for that run. So I was a little nervous to bring up the idea of running 500 to my partner, to my teammates and stuff like that. But everybody's been awesome, been super supportive.
Man. Okay, I have to like formulate my questions. I've done LSD and I've done mushrooms, and at no point was like go exercise. And definitely there have been points in each of those experiences where I was like, the bathroom is 15 feet away. I think I can make it. Like look at me go. It's going to be a process. Are you doing this 500-mile race to raise awareness for anything, or is it just to prove to yourself or to prove to, I mean, even yourself or to the populace that psychedelics are just underutilized, or is there some bigger mission? Are you a veteran?
No, yeah, pretty young. I thought about wanted to join the military. Dad was a fighter pilot growing up. Was definitely something that I thought was in my path at some point, but the injuries that I got from fighting would have prevented me from doing anything I would have wanted to do in the military.
Okay.
So, yeah, just kind of pursued fighting. Yeah, I found myself here at first, and it's something that I navigated with fighting as well. I was always looking for some reason to do it, and when I first got this idea to run 500 miles, I was like, yeah, I need to do it for something.
Yeah.
And the retreat center that I was mentioning last winter, some pipes burst. There's not a lot of insurance on places like that are off the grid, so it was a lot of work to fix the place up and get it moving in a way that we can actually have ceremony there again. And yeah, when I first got the idea, I was like, I'm just going to do this run for Bodhi. I'm going to raise money for Bodhi. I'm going to do all kinds of promotions for the retreat center. I'm going to get more people out here. Yeah. And then when I was talking to the owner, Larry, who's this woodworker who literally built this 3-story amazing home with his bare hands. I mean, used the trees from the land there, has a greenhouse where he has a fish aquaponics system and just all kinds of stuff there that make being there such an amazing experience. And when I was talking to him about it, he pretty much told me, like, I don't need your money. You don't need to do a 500-mile run for me. Like, if I want to sell the place, I'm going to sell the place. If I want to keep it, I'm going to keep it. Like, whatever happens with this run and project is not really going to make or break Bodhi. Yeah, when that happened, I realized that I just kind of I went looking for other places. I thought about attaching to a healing center that's going to open here in Colorado Springs, and have just kind of realized that I don't really agree with. I think that the state and big pharma is going to end up getting a hold of medicine through those places anyways. Yeah, now I just want to do it for me, and I think that's kind of why it's been harder to raise the funds for the documentary for the project itself, because there is like any extra money that we raise, anything that comes from the project, I still want to give to Bodhi. I would still want to do something for Bodhi, but yeah, hasn't been anything that's, I guess, the one thing that meant a lot to me. He pretty much told me that he didn't.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay. What was your impetus? The very first, like, I just can't imagine being in the middle of a workout and someone handing me LSD and thinking this is anything close to a good idea. And I'm not shaming it. Like, what was the instinct in you? There had to be something beyond, like, I think I'll just trip, or I think I'll, like, what was the feeling behind that was happening at the moment where you're like, yeah, I'll give this a try? Because clearly it worked, right?
Yeah.
If you like told me the story of like, hey, I was at 5 miles out and I took a couple droplets and then I sat on a rock and I contemplated God, I'd be like, that makes sense. But the fact that you're like, I felt good, I had more energy, I felt connected to the trail itself, is indicative of some deeper or more instinctive piece of knowledge. What do you think you were tapping into?
I think part of it is the LSD was new. Being a fighter, I think there's a lot of people that don't really talk about it, but even in the UFC, like there's lots of guys using mushrooms and psilocybin.
While they fight?
Yeah, while they
No
fight.
kidding.
The
No kidding.
Yeah, a lot of the, and I know it's usually not like a microdose either. There's even some of the fighters that I train. One of them's about to fight for an amateur belt here in town. He'll fight on like a gram and a half sometimes. So it's been something that I guess I'm used to, like training, moving on it.
Okay.
But with fighting, it's obviously much different than running. I think that the
Yeah.
mushrooms allow you to tap into some type of primal energy or source that makes doing that thing a little bit easier if you got the right amount, and the
Right.
setting is right in the right way. There's also times that I feel like I just need to go outside and watch the clouds go by, and all the way to Denver to train, and had no desire to actually get on the mats and work with other people. So there was a little bit of experience, and I knew I at least have the through all the experience I've had in the medicine space, through working with mentors, through Hakomi, I knew that I had emotional resourcing, and that if it gets to a point where I'm gonna like start freaking out, I can calm myself down. I know that I'm capable of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there was just this, because I hadn't used LSD, I'd only trained on mushrooms before. There was just this trust that whatever I'm going through right now is really, really fucking sucking, and I don't think that this is going to make it any worse. So, because it was definitely difficult. I don't want to like say that doing 100 miles was any kind of walk in the park, but
Sure.
it wasn't. As I was getting into that kind of dark spot, and I took that LSD, and it was a total turnaround.
Okay. Dante, what do you hope comes from the documentary? Because clearly there's some impetus, there's something underneath this that otherwise you just do it. Like you'd be a guy no one ever heard of who is running on LSD or running on mushrooms. Is there a piece of awareness that you want to bring psychedelics into the community or into the collective?
Yeah, I think into the movement space in general. There's this other company that I've done some work with called Couch Milk, which is they're really trying to support athletes in their navigation of psychedelics and kind of utilizing them as not only enhancers for life and ways to connect to spirit and the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, but also ways to increase performance, connect to their purpose and their sport a little bit deeper. Because there's a lot of professional athletes that are doing what they're doing because they're really just hurting a lot and need support in other ways, or they're coping with the success in their sport. So I have a desire certainly to kind of just show what having a relationship with plant medicine can bring you, can bring your performance, can bring your lifestyle, your relationships. I get really excited at the idea of some of the best runners in the world using plant medicine. I think it would be fucking awesome to see these guys that are running like 100 miles in 11, 12 hours. Like, had emotional resourcing and took some LSD as well. That'd be pretty cool to see what the human body's capable of because really it's just like LSD doesn't do anything to your body. Like physiologically, it's just reacting or interacting with your brain, to my knowledge. So it's just removing limitations that I've set on myself mentally. And I think that right there is really powerful. I think if it can just shed light on the fact that most of our limitations are all up here, and then they trickle down and make you feel it elsewhere.
Gotcha. For the documentary, do you have scientists? Do you have psychologists? Do you have psychiatrists? Are there people? Is your blood being analyzed, or is there any? Yeah, is there like going to be a scientific aspect to this?
Yeah, it's been something that we've tried to navigate because having any kind of way of like measuring my biometrics on
Yeah.
the actual run itself will be pretty tricky.
Mm.
Like I've got this wearable fitness device, and we'll collect data that way. But beforehand, like I did some VO2 max testing. I did that on medicine. We'll
Mm.
do another one right before the run happens. There's blood work going into it. We'll do blood work afterwards. We interviewed. I don't think I know he's a big deal in the psychedelic space, so I don't think I'm allowed to say his name yet. But one of the guys on the science end of psychedelics that was interviewed for the documentary just
Okay,
recently, he's supporting as well with like coming up with the protocol.
gotcha.
But it's also something that's just like guys run this far all the time. There's people who go and do the Colorado Trail and they set records on it and do it in 7 or 8 days. But
Okay.
they're using caffeine. They're feeling like
Mm.
shit the whole time. I think that if there's something that makes it impossible to fall asleep, like that feels like the perfect medicine to be in connection with for some of these multi-day events. So that's really kind of, I think what we're looking into is just like how long will it work?
Yeah. So it's almost like, and are you just going to be taking LSD for this, or will you be taking mushrooms as well?
I guess we haven't we've talked to the scientists, and we're still working on the protocol. We want it to be LSD is still a pretty gray area, and
Mm.
as much like psilocybin is,
Legality wise?
yeah, like
Yeah.
psilocybin and mescaline I think are the only ones that are being even looked at right now in Colorado. I'm not really even sure where the other states are at. I know New Mexico I think just moved something through with psilocybin specifically. The medicine that we'll be using, it'll be a mixture between, for sure, psilocybin, mescaline, for sure, cannabis, and then, yeah, just kind of depending on where things move legally and kind of what we find out, that's what we'll be using the LSD. Or that's kind of depend on how we use that.
Is there any legal worry that at the end of it, you've got documentation of you ingesting something that's illegal on film? Is that I don't know the law well enough that if like a video of me taking a tab of acid comes out from 2 weeks ago, like can I get arrested for that?
Technically, no, at least according to the attorneys that we've talked to. Like
Okay.
I'm a paranoid guy,
Yeah.
and like I said, I feel like it would really suck for people to just want to make an example out of somebody who's trying to advocate for the right side of things. But no, I don't think that you can. Like you can get in trouble for is recording videos of you saying that you're giving it to somebody else or
Okay.
that I'm purchasing something illegal. So
That's fair.
as long as it's we've already shared videos of that of me dropping some liquid down my mouth and going
Yeah.
out for a run and stuff like that, and there hasn't been any repercussion. And yeah, the attorneys we've talked to seem to feel like all that stuff is okay.
Okay. What has been the reaction? What has been your most surprising reaction, both positively and negatively, when you tell people about this project? I imagine people are fascinated. Like I'm fascinated. I think it's just as a curious person and someone who's done some plant medicine. Sorry to cut you off. That like I'm interested, but at no point was like this is dumb or like this is going to change amputees. Like, what's been surprising for you?
I think the most surprising thing is the messages that I get. Like
Hmm.
I get I get messages every weekend now because just a couple weeks ago I had like 1,000 followers on Instagram. Like when we
Okay.
started the project, and now I think like probably by this weekend it'll be closer to
Okay.
30,000. And there's just tons of people reaching out who are trying out like what we're doing, and
Hmm.
I think that whether it's them taking medicine and going out for a run or just getting out and moving their bodies,
Yeah.
that's been the most surprising. I think that it's actually like motivating people to get out and do something or to
Hmm.
try, because I think the connection to nature, the connection to the trail, the connection to the reason that I'm getting out and doing it anyways,
Yeah.
that's all, and that's why
Hmm.
I want to I just let people know that there's something there. I try to be careful with telling people, like, if you have no relationship with plant medicine, you shouldn't just go take a tab of acid and go for a run. Like, that's probably go well. But if you're an experienced runner and you've had some acid or some mushrooms before, there's probably something there for you. Just like hitting the bag if you're a martial artist, if you've never done that before, like
Right.
low sparring.
Right.
But yeah, that's, I think, been the most surprising on the good side of things, is just the people that feel inspired or motivated. Because it's really just, I'm really trying to embody this. Like, I'm doing this for me because I want to. If people want to support it, it's really fucking awesome, because there's a crew of 15, 20 people that I'd love to actually pay, but they're all my best friends. So,
Yeah.
you know, they're gonna support me anyways.
Yeah.
And
then
then
has there been negative kickback or negative feedback?
I feel the most, I think I knew it was going to happen, but there's been some really big companies that we've talked to and like had a meeting scheduled with, or got a couple messages through, got a couple meetings in, and then something comes down the line from somebody higher up that like they can't support this project because it has anything to do with psychedelics.
Mm.
So that's been, I think, the most, like, I didn't think that it would be, that the world was quite in that place where it's like really not ready for a big brand to support something like this. Now I get it for sure after everything
Okay.
yeah, and then there's always the occasional like guy in the comments that likes to talk shit and just try to be hurtful. And I've learned, at first it was like I would read it by the director. He's a pretty savvy social media guy, and yeah, I'm a human being. Like, it definitely brings up emotion in me when I read that stuff. But it's been a great practice to just offer compassion.
Okay. Yeah, I bet. Man, this is fascinating. Like, it's such an interesting idea. So you've never run 500 miles before at one time. Is that
No,
correct?
just 115, I think, is what that last race was last
Okay.
year.
How long do you anticipate this taking you?
It's funny. I told everybody, I was like, I don't want to talk about timeline anymore.
Okay. Okay.
It's stressing me out. But to be honest, and like when I feel confident, like 8 days feels like a dream for me. Like, getting it done in around a week, I think would be pretty cool. Like 65 to 75 miles a day.
And what does your body go through? So at the end of I mean, I guess you don't know. At the end of a 115-mile race, are you in bed for the next 5 days? Are you in like getting recovery, like massages and ice baths, and like what is the tax on your body at a quarter of this race that you're about to do?
I mean, with a 100-mile race, I think it's, it's a little different being in the wilderness when you don't have access to crews, vans, everything like that. You're carrying a lot of stuff on your back, so
Yeah.
there's a lot less time to get good nutrition in. You're on timelines, so that, I think, does leave you feeling a little bit more broken. I remember like having cuts on my tongue from just breathing in, like just breathing so much. I think my mouth
Oh
dry. It's like little things like that you don't think of.
wow.
But I felt, and it's something that you'll see, like the guys who have a little bit more muscle mass
Mm-hmm.
typically will recover a lot quicker. You'll see them walking around, maybe even shuffling around the next day. But the people who, probably the people who are winning the races, but also the people who have little to no muscle mass on their body, like those people are the ones that'll be on crutches or
Yeah.
moving slowly for weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have a projection of what this is going to do to your body?
I guess I have a hope that it takes me to this place that I'm looking for, so that I don't get done and feel like I need to do something bigger.
Yeah.
But I also have I'm a wellness coach, I'm a movement coach, and I want to try to figure out how to do it while doing the least amount of damage to my body possible. Yeah. So I think having the van nearby, having the crew close to me basically the whole time, will really limit a lot of that. Okay. But I imagine that there's going to be, I think the biggest tax will be probably from the psychedelics in general, because I want to try to be in connection with those to move a little bit quicker. So it won't just be like I'm just doing them to like run and be on medicine at the same time. I want to use it at the right time, so that's going to help the process unfold quicker.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I hope I can walk the next day. I hope that I have some serotonin left. And I think that the biggest concern, though, is the serotonin syndrome.
Because of the psychedelics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then also just adding in running 18 hours a day.
Yeah.
On top of that.
Okay. Who was the first person you told this idea to? And what was their reaction?
Who was the first person?
Was it your partner?
No, I know it wasn't her, because I know I was really scared to tell her.
She was like person 19.
Yeah,
you got the whole crew organized. a website up.
Yeah, and it went about how I thought it would, but I knew it got to the point where I was like, all right, people are starting to figure out that this is something I'm working on. She needs to know.
Okay. Actually, how did that conversation go, if I can ask?
She got pretty emotional, which made me emotional.
She's worried about you?
Honestly, I think it was just like there's so many people who run these races, and I think that these guys who like are family men and don't have the time to train like a professional athlete, like those guys are fucking heroes that they go out and they still make this shit happen.
Right.
But the way that I like to prepare for stuff, I think a lot of the habits from being a fighter still trickle in, and I'm not looking at like how to go from couch to ultra marathon. I'm looking at like what are the best guys in the world doing, and how are they doing it, and how can I mimic that. So it's just a lot of time, and I think that she just realized how much time and how much commitment, how much sacrifice. That was a big word during the last year. Yeah, it was just sacrifice. How much energy, time.
Yeah. Was this a hard sell to anybody on the team, or did you open up the idea and have people kind of flock to you?
No, I mean I would say most of the people that I am surrounded by now are guys that are getting after it in some.
Okay.
So I think everybody was really just excited. There wasn't a single person, like maybe parents or people in my family who don't even like really know much about ultra running, or know that there's like people who do this shit every year. People try to set a record on the Colorado Trail, and that trail is a little bit more intense than the route that I'm doing.
Okay.
So it's like, yeah, it's a thing, but people were super supportive. There was nobody who, honestly, I think I had a piece of me come up that was like maybe a little bit, just like feeling that nourishment of just knowing that everybody in my circle was all about it, and then there's part of me that wants to come up and be like, that's not true. Like, that's not how it should be. But yeah, it was cool. It was a cool question that you asked. It
Right on.
brought that up.
Dante, do you feel like this is a map you'll put on other activities later? Like you run 500 miles on psychedelics, you climb Everest on psychedelics, you sail to Hawaii alone on psychedelics. Like, is this part of your? Not, I don't like the word personal branding. That's such a shit idea. But like, this is something that you've uniquely created. Or at the end of this, is it? And I know this is speculation. You think you'll finish this and go like, cool, that was a documentary. Now I'm just going to go back to training my clients and training my fighters and doing jujitsu and doing the things that make me happy? Or is this kind of a sequential? Do you see a further sequence after this? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think just knowing myself and knowing where I'm at in my life, I'm only 26 years old. I think I've got a lot of time, and I don't anticipate this being the end of it. I think the dream would be some big outdoor company that loves our community and our team and wants to support us in doing more things like it. Like, that would be the ultimate dream. And whether they know it or want to support it or not, like, I'll be using psychedelics on all of my adventures, I'm sure. But it would also be cool to kind of be, it feels like a lot of responsibility to try and be the face for something like that, especially because, like I said, there's tons of fighters, there's tons of runners. Like, that's a big thing in the comments that pops up all the time. Like, you're not special, runners do this all the time. And I think it's just, it'd be cool to shed light on it a little bit. But I'd be happy to just also continue the trail running path, and whether it's really for the medicine or not. I think that I'm just curious how it plays out.
Yeah, and people can tell you that, but I didn't know that. And I feel like I'm a knowledgeable human about psychedelics and about athletics. And I'm in the world, this is podcast episode 400 and something. So I talk to a lot of people. I talk to therapists. My business partner is a prior Marine, so he's interested in psychedelics in the military community. I have partners that are therapists who have used psychedelics with clients, and yet I did not know this was a thing. So I would imagine that it's most of the country or most of the world has no idea that psychedelics. I think most people are still stuck in like, this is bad. This is evil. This is sinful. Like, whatever dumb idea they have about psychedelics, despite the success of MAPS and some other larger organizations, and despite the headway that even the military has had to make to go, wait a minute, a lot of our guys are getting healed when they come home with PTS, when they use MDMA, when they use psilocybin, when they use other drugs. So I think there's still a lot of conversation that isn't being had or hasn't been had yet, even if someone is telling you you're not special because you're running them. Like, there's
Mhm.
still a lot of space open.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate you naming that. And
Yeah.
yeah, we see that every day here with the city council meetings, trying to
Mm.
advocate for the at least for the healing centers to be able to open up for therapists to be able to utilize the medicines. And
Yeah.
yeah, there's no shortage of veterans that end up growing them on their own or doing their own
Right.
experience and have some kind of life changing
Tons.
experience. And
Yeah,
yeah, there's no
tons and
support for
tons.
them. I would love to just advocate for the fact that it's not. I mean, it's not for everybody, but it's not what our culture has made it out to be. That's for sure.
Not at all. Has there been any inquiry or energy or communication from the military or people post military, like veterans groups or veterans mental health groups, sort of following you or interested in your project?
I think that there's a lot of. I know that my mentor is actually sitting down with the. There's a group at a army base here in Colorado Springs that I've heard is actually connected to a group of facilitators down in Mexico, and
Okay.
because they know it helps, but they don't know how to help people with it, they're sending guys down to Mexico, and then they're
Mm,
coming back, and life is better for a little bit, but then it goes back to getting worse, or they don't
mm,
understand how to integrate, and things kind of fall apart for them. So we're chatting with some of those guys on just how to help them in their recovery process. But I think that it's still like we've definitely used some language in some of the videos and stuff that I think maybe gives it this idea that we're not exactly the kind of people who are going to talk about harm reduction and stuff like that. I
that
think
you're not going to talk about what harm reduction?
yeah, just like with some of the videos, like I know there's videos of me smoking joints and talking about
Uh,
how great I feel running. We haven't brought a lot of the science into what we're putting out there, I think, because the director's doing a good job of just making it seem really attention grabbing. But yeah, there's some interest. I would say I don't know. I don't think that has really anything to do with the documentary, but
yeah.
the military here locally understands what our team is doing, what our community is doing, and yeah, they're reaching out for support, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool, man. There's a lot of possibility. I mean, a documentary like that can open up tons and tons of doors. Is there a thought beyond you just getting sponsored by a company of what the like? Do you have a shoot the moon? Like, fuck it, this would be rad if for more of the community more than you getting sponsored personally. Any thought like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, of course, the dream is just like get paid to go run and be with
Yeah.
my buddies in the mountains all the time. But yeah, I think it would also be really cool to be able to share couch milk and that idea of
Mm.
revolutionizing athletic consciousness and helping people connect to their purpose a little deeper. I think I have a really strong desire to work with current athletes, like former high performers. I think that there's a lot of people who struggle when they perform at a really high level in really anything. I think that people struggle with trying to figure out where to put that energy when that thing is done, whether it's too many
Oh,
injuries
for sure.
fighting like me or just, I got to get out of the military, I got to retire
Right.
whatever it is, I think that those are the types of people that I'd really love to support because there's so much you
Mm.
can do with your life when you like these people are so passionate. There's so many people that have so much drive, and then you just kind of
Yeah.
see them apart when they stop doing what they're used to doing.
Yeah. Transitions are tough for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
especially a high performer when you got accolades or you got affirmation or you got just people told you how good you were. You knew how good you were. I remember I used to work with a lot of military guys, and they would say the challenge is that like all of the skills that they had suddenly weren't as transferable as they thought they would be.
Mm-hmm.
Like flying a helicopter doesn't really translate to your sales job, even
Yeah.
though there are aspects of it that do. But
Mm-hmm.
no one on the sales team gives a shit that you were like a multi-deployment combat
Mm-hmm.
helicopter pilot. They're like, well, how are your sales numbers?
Yeah.
And I can definitely see that.
Yeah. So I think that'd be my ultimate goal. Is that'd be my dream, getting to support people like that, getting to start a Hakomi practice and
Yeah.
perhaps come up with some ways to help guys in that regard. We have a rite of passage program that
Oh, right on.
we put some men through, and it's definitely, it's smaller, it's more experiential,
Yeah.
but yeah, I like doing that stuff.
Let's talk about men's work for a bit. I run a men's movement. I'm curious, what got you into that?
Yeah. I was down a couple years ago. I was down in Mexico with some family and just did not have a good time. Don't really. There's not a lot of people in my family or my partner's family that are like minded.
Mm.
Going down there, being so close to the beach, being a part of this, being in this community that was a part of something so much bigger, I felt like a culture that I really wanted to experience. Yeah, it just sucked. And I remember thinking to myself one day, sitting on the beach, we had some mushrooms with us, and we were just sitting there, putting our feet in the water, and I was like, man, this would be really fucking awesome to do this with a group of like 10 of our best friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually sat down right there in my journal and wrote down like the framework for a men's program that was going to follow there's a book by Martin Prechtel. I'm not sure if you're familiar with his work, but The Smell of Rain on Dust was something that was super impactful for me, and I felt like that would be a great place to start with other men. So yeah, I just kind of wrote out like the framework for a little book club and came back to Colorado, and that was probably 3.5 years ago, and started that. And it's something a lot bigger now, but yeah, that was how it all started. It was just wanting friends.
Yeah, and this is the reason I have a membership group with about 300 guys in it, and it started because one dude was like, I can't find anybody around me who's is interested in growth and spirituality and meditation and health, and I don't have anybody to talk to about this. Do you have a resource for me? And I was like, no. And that's sort of the same thought, like, why don't I have a resource for this guy? I doubt he's the only one. And since have built it since, but man, that's wild that you got into men's work so young too. It usually takes guys a little bit longer to find it, but I wish I had it at your age. I'm in my late 40s, and man, it would have made my 20s a lot more impactful, a lot less fuckery,
Yeah.
and definitely significantly better relationships. Like having strong, powerful men around. Is this something you incorporate into your men's work as well, psychedelics?
Yeah, I would say that it's probably. The rite of passage program that we do, it culminates in that if it's something that people want to participate in,
Sure.
But it's not a requirement. The way that I got into that, I guess, though, and starting a rite of passage program was through doing men's ceremonies, and we incorporate a lot of that. But we also just have a community that meets every Friday, and we all just get coffee, and that's. At first I was really young when I started it, and I was leading this group and was kind of like, I was in this position where I was excited to be a leader, wanted to be, the guy in charge, planning everything. And yeah, just there was a lot of immaturity. There wasn't a lot of older guys in the group. And then when we started to connect with the women's group that my partner was starting, it was we just realized how much immaturity there was in this community. But now we've got a handful of guys that are 70 plus years old, and I really share the leadership role with a lot of different people, and it's it feels like a really grounded community now, and I think that's a key, is having the elders in there.
Let's talk about the documentary real quick. I know the run is at an undisclosed time. Do you have a framework for when the documentary will be out, and what's it called?
Yeah, I think we're sticking with it. I know that we never really talked about it. We were brainstorming names, and then the director sent a teaser, and at the end of it just said Dante, and I think that was like part of my. I think I've always been a pretty humble guy fighting, and I think that's the part of me that felt a little bothered by it just being called Dante. I'm just trying to kind of lead into it being an opportunity to share my story, and I feel like now. So it's called Dante, and the goal. I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to say this. I'm sorry, Fern, if I'm not, but it's going to be Sundance is our goal. So we want to get it into Sundance Film for next year. So I think we've got to have it submitted by September, late September.
Okay.
And then if it gets accepted, that'll be where we have to premiere it. So it would premiere hopefully at Sundance, and then we'd probably go on a little tour, at least around Colorado, and show the film some other spots.
Isn't Sundance coming to Boulder now?
They are, yeah. So I think this is the last year in Utah.
Okay.
Or this last year was the last one in Utah, I think. Or I'm not sure exactly when it is, but I think in 2025, I think it'll be in Boulder.
Right on, man. So you just a quick drive up the road. Fingers crossed it gets it. Dante, where can I send people to find you, to follow you, to support this, and eventually to find the documentary?
Yeah. Sufferfilms.com would be the best place. There's like a little email that you can sign up for there, so all the updates on the documentary will come through there, and
Okay.
that's sffrfilms.com. You can follow them on Instagram too, and then yeah, I'll be posting updates around training and stuff like that. Yeah, like I said, trying to make sure that we kind of keep quiet about when it happens so we can just get it done.
Okay. So people can't follow you as you do the run.
No, I mean there'll be people here close to me, and like there'll be a tracker for my family and people at the
Okay.
gym, stuff like that. But yeah, we're gonna keep everything
Keep it on the
under wraps.
DL. Awesome, man. Well, this is super intriguing. I look forward to chatting with you when you get done. I think it's amazing what you're doing, especially bringing all the awareness to psychedelics and just normalizing it because, as we've said, it's been so demonized. And I get people, going to a Pink Floyd show are different than a soldier coming home with PTS who's really benefiting from it. But I think you're on the forefront of something here, brother. I appreciate you chatting with me.
Yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate you having me on, and yeah, it's been awesome. Been awesome.
Cheers, brother. I look forward to meeting you in person too.
Yeah, you as well.
Do you want to help support the podcast? I know you do. Perfect. Here's how. Please take 12 seconds, scroll down, slap us with a 5-star review, and share this episode with one person in your life. Think about this. You tip your bartender and he serves you poison. And all I'm doing is pouring soul-stirring truth right into your ears. And if you haven't gotten a chance to grab one of my books, please get a hold of Today I Rise, snag a copy of Man Uncivilized, or get yourself some 28 Days in Darkness. Buy one for yourself, buy one for a friend, and buy one for your ex who's still watching your Instagram stories. I love you. Thank you. Until next time, stay uncivilized.